The year was 2050, and the world was already broken. Humanity had lost its cities, its faith, and its dominion. The first vampires, born of Absalon's flawed cure, ruled in shadows and blood. Hospitals that once treated human illness were now repurposed for their own kind, places where vampires used hospitals A to harvest humans. In one such hospital, under sterile lamps and blood-lined floors, a child was born that would alter the course of eternity. His name was Zale. At first, the birth seemed unremarkable. Doctors, themselves non-winged vampires with sharpened claws and crimson pupils, handled the infant as they had countless others. But as the child's back twitched, a terrible sound filled the room, the tearing of flesh, the unfurling of something new. From the infant's shoulders sprouted wings, not symbolic, not imagined, but vast leathery appendages that stretched and flapped weakly, their veins alive with power. The doctors recoiled in horror. No vampire had ever displayed such a trait. The mother screamed in fear, the father fainted where he stood. Nurses whispered of curses, of abominations. Yet within the panic, a single truth became undeniable. The first pureblood had been born. Chapter 1, a specimen among kin. Zale was not raised like other vampire children. From the moment he drew breath, he was treated as both miracle and monster. His every movement was studied. His wings were measured, his strength tested, his blood drawn for study. The doctors who once recoiled now recorded, cataloged, and obsessed. And by the age of 10, Zale was taller than most grown men, his frame lean and powerful. His wings stretched like banners of night, flaring each time his temper stirred. He carried himself with unnatural poise, even as a child, his crimson eyes locking onto adults with a gravity that unsettled them. The vampire army took notice. Chapter 2, Weapon in the Making. Zale was placed under the tutelage of commanders and soldiers, molded not into a child but into a weapon. They drilled him in combat, claw against blade, fang against steel. He learned to harness his wings, first for balance, then for leaps, and finally for full flight. By the time he could read, he could already kill. The army whispered of his potential. Some revered him, others feared him, but none denied he was different. Zale absorbed their training eagerly, convinced that his power was proof of destiny. At 15, Zale stood at 6'7", his wings unfurled to a formidable 15 feet. He was no longer treated as a trainee, but as a soldier, or rather, a weapon to be tested. Rumors of human survivor camps had reached the vampire courts, small enclaves hiding in forests, deserts, or ruins, clinging desperately to life. The army decided to send Zale on his first mission, a purge. The camp's defenses were crude, wooden barricades, rifles scavenged from a bygone age. To Zale, it was laughable. He descended upon them in the night, talons gleaming, wings stirring the air into storms. Bullets struck him, but his flesh knitted itself shut before wounds could slow him. He tore barricades apart with his claws, snapped human bones beneath his wings, and bathed in the fear of those who realized too late that no god would save them. By dawn, the camp was ash. The ground ran red. Every man, woman, and child had been slaughtered. Zale stood among the ruins, his wings spread, crimson eyes glowing with triumph. The army celebrated his success. But in Zale's heart, a seed had been planted, a seed of arrogance, the belief that he was chosen not just to fight but to rule. Chapter 5, Soldier's Doubt. Not all were pleased with Zale's growing pride. In the barracks and along patrols, whispers spread. Two soldiers, speaking beneath the shadows of ruined walls, voiced what others feared to say aloud. Zale grows arrogant, one muttered. He believes himself destined to rule us all. He is dangerous, the other hissed. If he is not stopped, he will destroy us. Perhaps we should find a way to rid ourselves of him before it is too late. They did not know that above them, on the crown of a crumbling building, Zale listened. Chapter 6, The Listener on the Spire. Wings folded tight against his back, Zale heard every word. His heart, once swollen with pride, twisted in confusion. Betrayal? From his own? They had trained him, raised him, celebrated him. Now they plotted against him? He returned to his bunker that night, silent but seething. Chapter 7. Rage in the Bunker. The words echoed endlessly. Dangerous, arrogant, must be stopped. At first he tried to reason with himself. He was their future, their evolution. Why would they seek his end? But reason faltered, consumed by rage. His claws tore gashes into concrete walls. His wings shattered pillars. His roar shook dust from the ceiling. Zale was no longer a soldier. He was a storm contained in flesh.
Zale returned to the army base, but he did not return as their prodigy. He came as executioner.
With blinding speed, he tore through the barracks. Soldiers who once trained him fell before his claws. Commanders who praised him screamed as his wings split their bodies in two. His fury was merciless. His betrayal answered with extinction. The base ignited in flames. Oil drums burst, ammunition stores exploded. The night sky lit like dawn as the compound crumbled under his wrath. By morning, nothing remained but ash and ruin. Where once the vampire army trained its soldiers, only charred bones and molten steel marked the earth. Zale stood atop the tallest ruin, wings stretched wide, his crimson eyes glowing against the rising sun. He alone among. His kind could endure its light. To him it was not weakness but coronation. He had silenced betrayal. He had destroyed the whispers. He had proven that he was not simply one of them. He was above them. Chapter 10. Centuries of Ascension. Centuries passed. Zale did not weaken, he grew. By adulthood, he towered at 8 feet tall, his body a monument to strength. His wings unfurled to a vast 26-foot span, blotting out the sky when he took flight. His face, once youthful, became regal, sharpened into a visage both beautiful and terrifying. Among vampires, he was no longer merely a soldier. He was myth. Chapter 11. Crown and Armor. Zale adorned himself as befit a god. He wore golden armor, polished to blind those who gazed upon it. Across his chest shone a bat-shaped breastplate, its wings spread wide in eternal declaration of dominance. Upon his brow rested a crown of jagged gold, sharp as fangs, radiant as fire. He raised a castle of gold, its towers piercing the sky, its halls glowing with firelight reflected on endless walls of metal. To approach it was to bow beneath radiance, to be reminded that Zale was not mortal, not even vampire, but deity. From his throne, Zale ruled without question. Armies knelt in silence. Elders bowed. Courtiers whispered prayers. His reign was absolute. Those who doubted him were erased. Those who betrayed him were annihilated. His paranoia had evolved into policy, and his pride into dominion. To his people, he was the first god of the night. Epilogue, the winged god. Zale's image became eternal. His height, his wings, his golden armor and crown. These became the symbols of aristocracy for every pureblood that followed. Where Absalom had created vampires through science, Zale had proven that evolution itself could forge gods. He had been born in a hospital to shock and fear. He had grown in shadows, trained as a weapon. He had been betrayed, and in fire, he had silenced betrayal forever. Now in his golden castle, upon his golden throne, Zale sat not as soldier nor king, but as deity. To vampires, he was proof of their eternal dominion. To humans, he was the shadow of despair, and to history, he was the beginning of the pure blood age.